Thank you so much for watching. In the Man Cave is the wonderful Lisa Goddard. Lovely to see you, of course, from Radoni Media. How you been?
I'm good. It is always so nice to end the week here.
Well, it's always, we'll get a little fireplace going in the corner there somewhere. It's, you know, the TV week. We get it, right? Ross Goodell, of course, National Senator in New South Wales. He joins us now from Canberra. So, very interesting little story that is around at the moment. The Northern Land Council has told a parliamentary committee that they would like to see, essentially, racially divisive comments about Indigenous people get ramped up to a version of hate crime, essentially a new form of discrimination, something that should be criminalised. Now, obviously, all of us are going to agree that people peddling in that stuff, not acceptable. But what's fascinating here, Ross, is whether there will be another little diversion here and another little split in the law. Can you imagine this happening?
Under this government and the Greens, absolutely. I can imagine anything happening that wants to divide Australia. It's what they're great at. The only thing they're passing at is dividing Australians on different values and they hold. But look, this case, and I get this very tragic case up there on what happened where people were run down and a person passed away. Can't believe the guy didn't end up in jail for what it was. That's just unbelievable to me. And, bad people come in all shapes, colours, size, race, creeds, all of these things. If we start making crimes just because, the victim was a certain thing, that is a problem. But, we have to be careful on this hate speech. That is where, I got sacked for supporting freedom of speech in the chamber and voting the way against the party or against the Liberal Party lines on this. But so freedom of speech is my cornerstone. You shouldn't incite violence. You shouldn't be able to incite hate and you shouldn't act upon them. And I can see why that is a thing, but it can't be broad brush. It needs to be really, really valid there. I didn't see all the comments from the committee about some of these things this guy said when he did this, but anyone who acts with malice and forethought should face the full weight of the law, no matter why it was vindicated. He did this with malice. He did it with forethought. He should take everything he gets. Yeah,
I'm with you completely. But also, Lisa, it's this thing where you want to create laws for the 28 million permutations that are the citizenry. Yep. Not elevating one group over another. What do you reckon?
Well, you have to have equality in law. Surely that's the starting point with all of this, right? And if you look at this particular case, look, it was repugnant what some of those text messages were saying.
Oh, absolutely.
However, the court looked at those text messages when it came to sentencing. Yes, I agree. It's shocking that it was a home detention. But they looked at that. They took that into account. So if again, like Ross said, it has to look at freedom of speech. You can't just be siloing it down into one particular ethnic race or one particular group. I think that is particularly dangerous.
Now, we all remember how evil the the Labor Party got when the Prime Minister of the country, of course, went off to Hawaii at the height of the fires, and it's all his fault, because you're not allowed to have holidays, right? But, of course, none of such rules apply to this Prime Minister, and I'm going to be consistent. Prime Ministers are allowed to have holidays and they're allowed to have irregular timing of those holidays, right? But I am amazed that the Prime Minister has decided, this is the time when I can have a holiday, and that time exactly overlaps with the Garma Festival. Now, why does this matter at all? Because he made the big song and dance not 10 years ago, last year, that he would always go to this festival that has great importance to the Indigenous community.
And I commit here that every single year that I have the great honour to be Australia's Prime Minister, I will be here and engaged with you.
Now, he's not going. Why? Because he needs a day off. He hasn't had a day off this year, which, again, is absolutely fair. But no one wants to hear that from their elected politicians, do they, Lisa?
Oh, you're being very hard on him. He had to admit this, while he was feeling sick, he's got the flu. Look, I get it's a tough job. I get he hasn't had a day off. But he also did say, I will be there every year as long as I'm Prime Minister. So he was quite happy to be there when he was announcing the referendum for The Voice. He was quite happy to be there for the past 2 years talking about the challenges for the Indigenous people in this country. But this year, no. So I'm sorry, Caleb Bond, but when you've got Albo saying my word is my bond, well, here again, clearly, it isn't.
Yeah, correct. Again, Senator, right? Look, they're all free to do what they want to. They're all free to go to what they choose to go to. They're all free to have a holiday. But if you make a song and dance that, hey, I'm going to be here all the time. I'll never give up on you. I'll be always in your corner. I'll bring prime ministerial shine to this event every chance I get. And then the first chance he gets, I'm buggering off for a while.
And that's the problem. The problem isn't he has a break. Everyone deserves a break. Like, I can tell you, my pre-selection's coming up in a little bit of time, and my son comes to me and goes, oh, you're away a lot. Can you not go again? I'd prefer you to be at home. It's a pressure on you. But you don't go out there and say, I'll be here every year, because you're just being a suckhole. What you're doing is you're saying something you know you can't keep. You're saying something you won't keep. And this is the case. He always goes too big. He just says stuff. And you're polling up on the trust thing is so important. People won't trust you if you don't trust them. And this Prime Minister and this government does not trust the people of Australia with information, doesn't trust them with anything. So he could have said, I'll come here as often as I can. It's a marginal difference to how that's received, but it's just, he always overpromises and underdelivers, and that is what this government does.
But what I love now is that what's going to be inevitably a result of this conversation is all the lefties, banging away. They've got the thumbs ready on blue sky, sorry, not on it, don't care. Which is going to be, well, these people never care about the Government Festival. Now they suddenly care about the Government Festival. Did you see the start of the conversation? He's the one who made the promise, right? He's the one who's backed out on it, which means he's the one who's the liar, OK? Focus on him, because that's actually the thing we're talking about here. Now, I care a lot about this story, and I am glad that there is anyone in politics, be it the government of the day or a potential and future government, that wants to go after slave labour. Now, apparently the government's going to introduce some new bells and whistles that is going to go after companies that involve forced labour as part of their global supply chains. But the small problem here, Lisa, is that one of the biggest places Australia gets, among other things, solar panels from is China, and the biggest producer of the solar panels is the area where the Uyghurs are forced into the making of those things. Joe Biden, just like a broken clock, right, a couple of times, even he banned the importation of slave labour, solar or renewable technology from China. I'll believe this is the thing they want to do if that's where they come out and say, and you know what? The stuff being made by slaves in China, no, it's not coming in and we're not paying for it through the side door of subsidies.
But isn't that just putting your money where your mouth is?
Correct.
Isn't it just saying, look, we're all for the green dream, but actually, if we're going to hold other businesses to account for modern-day slavery, all the businesses now, there's so much pressure on corporates to have all of these policies in place. You try doing a government procurement contract. Yeah. You try doing that and see the questions you get asked. And yet, yeah, you're right. They should now say, OK, well, we'll lead. Yeah. And show some true leadership here and say no more of those panels from China. Yeah,
to me, I mean, again, Ross, this is sort of the kick from right in front, but it's such an easy goal, but it's one they won't because, of course, it becomes cross purposes, a little bit like how everything the CSIRO's ever written, as if it was coming down on tablets from on high, until this week where, of course, they sort of muddied the waters a little bit on the cost of coal versus renewable.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. Their gen cost that has to be relied on of all, even though nuclear plants under their term last about 40 years, suddenly coal's cheaper. That's an inconvenient truth, but, that's thing. But this is coming back to even the slave labour stuff. This is the blind eye that this government and Labor and Albo all turn to things that are inconvenient for them. They won't look at the fact that coal is cheaper gen cost. They won't look at the slave labour coming from the Uyghurs. They don't look at the child miners for lithium in Africa because that is inconvenient for them. They want this. They're controlling the narrative, don't give information. And when it comes to something even like you saw the CSIRO, this great body, even they've had to come out and say, look, even though coal's cheaper, it comes at an unbearable cost to the environment. Our 1% is unbearable to save people money. And it just gets me that you go out there and you look at your transmission lines. If you're getting coal power, which is cheap, you still have to pay for the thousands of kilometres of transmission lines that solar has to do, and that's factored in. It's just rubbish. And the inconvenient truth is not about what the movie was about. It's about your energy bills and what this government doesn't tell you.
All right, winners and losers of the week. Lisa Goddard, who stands out for you?
This is a bit left of centre. So there's an Australian swimwear brand called Nashi. Now, they took on Trump over the tariffs and have won, so they've had a nice little deposit into their bank account of a six-figure number that no one will know quite what that number is ever, but I think they're the winner. Loser, it's predictable, Harry. However, Elton John is also the loser in this because he was one who had to say, hey, I am not an ATM.
Yeah, correct. It'll be fascinating to see. All right, Ross, ups and downs, what's for you?
Mate, Count Binface. There's a guy that was been a joke candidate at 1.9 and suddenly he's being contested. And who can blame him with policies such as capping the price of kebabs? That's something we should bring over here. My loser is Claire O'Neill again. She only opens her mouth to change feet, and we want to see more of her, so please promote her more and more.
Correct. Keep sending her on to Sunrise. Keep sending her on to Sunrise, because that's where it all happens each and every week, a couple of times a week. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Quick break.